Okay, let's get started here. Okay, so this is just a follow up of our meeting we had recently. We discussed compositional elements, what was going to be included in the lemur diorama. We discussed having ringtail lemurs in a setting in southwest Madagascar, which is a little more dry, a little more arid regions in it. And the diorama will have forest and vegetation heavy on the left-hand side, and that's to allow for any branches or vines dangling down, so we give the lemurs something to, tree-wise to interact with and elevate them, I guess, if we want to. And then the right-hand side would be grasses, and in the grasslands, will tie in really good to the grasses that will be in model form in the foreground. So what I did was to go through all of these images here, and I was able to pick out like nice trees and stuff. This just gives me a really good sense of the type of area that these lemurs live in. Well, when it comes down to it, I'll need to speak to a botanist about getting like actual names of trees and stuff so I can get better source material to work from. But this gives me a good sense of like the density of the forest that they live in, and I know this is like a man-made trail going here, but we're planning to have grasses like this in here. So this is really good stuff to move from. And I went around and made an initial sketch. I was just picking and choosing elements and textures mostly from these photos, like the textures of these plants, for instance, and this down here could be replicated and used really well in the finished painting, which won't be finished, of course, will just be partially finished. So what I went ahead and did was make a sketch, just a quick sketch of the different elements that we talked about including, that being the forest side over here on the left, that being the grassy, more open side over here on the right, something like a game trail maybe going through, and then having it going back enough that we're allowing sky to come through and essentially allowing light to come through. The quote was not dark. This is not a type of diorama where everything's pressed to the surface and it's just like a thick thing of foliage that you can't really see through, and it makes kind of an easier at least an easier painting to, but in this case we want to open up the space and show their habitat quite a bit. So I do in my initial sketch here. I do like this idea of using dirt as a tie-in here and there, where there's dirt in the painting and then there's a dirt ground on the landform, and just in some strategic places. I usually look at these 45-degree angles right here, and those are usually where I focus a lot of attention on. And on the left-hand side, I would like a tree that's at least close enough that we can see some of the details on its surface, whether those are lichen or some bark textures or something. Just close enough that we can pick out details. We can even put lizards and stuff on that if we wanted to. And then vines, of course, they just add nice compositional touches. So those are some of the elements that I want to work with. And in this bottom left-hand corner, have a lot of foliage. I wrote the word botany stuff right here. That just means, you put some artificial plants there or something to hide that seam for the tie-in. And also hold down that front left-hand corner and the front right-hand corners. Those are where the perspective gets really twisted up and tied, and little eddies of perspective. So we like to hide those corners there. So I have some foliage right here. So now the question comes down between these being the different elements, like we can incorporate them in different degrees, right? Like more or less of one thing. So I went ahead and I took this into Photoshop and I cut up all of my individual layers so we can kind of move them around, get a good sense of how much foliage we wanted, how into the forest or into the grasslands we wanted, and different compositional things that we can do. You'll notice regardless of whatever composition that we kind of move forward with, I would recommend, this is obviously your call, but I would recommend having the, at least for this, because the format and the direction that we're going, I think it would be best to have the left-hand side be a little bit higher than the right-hand side, so there'll be a slope with the landform. That does a couple of things for us. It draws us in to the canvas, which kind of helps just navigate the scene and hide the seams and stuff. But we control the viewer's eyes as it enters in, keeping the eyes away from the trickier parts, from the harder parts to hide in the tie-in. And then the grasses can fill this slope. But then it also uses gravity, like this feeling of gravity and movement. It just makes it feel so much more alive. And I typically I don't like the flat landforms myself because they feel so static and not moving. So this would add just a bit of movement, especially if one of the lemurs is walking in it. So like it to be raised up, I don't know, 6 feet or 6 inches, 2 feet. I don't know, however that would work. Regardless. And so what we'll do is take a look at a couple of the ways of doing this composition. One is to have the forest be like super pressed against us, right? So like it's not in the middle, so it's moving into the foreground. The forest is done here. We can add more trees and more elements to this that are bigger and closer to us. We can really move this in to have forest be pretty heavily forested, and maybe even move the middle ground forward a little bit. So we're looking through a really kind of a thick forest on the left-hand side, but we still have plenty of room for that grassland. That little game trail can be cut through here. Put little scenes down here. And then this is sort of an upper theater. This is like a lower theater. In this case, that's one of the nice things about the movement of the landscape. It's not just flat. So we can tell a lot of good stories this way with a scene like this. Could do it with. We could even open up that middle ground space even more. Maybe that's a little lake down there or something. I'm not sure. It just gives us opportunities if we open it up down here to put stuff off in the distance. Maybe there's some rocks or something that the lemurs are playing on, perhaps. I don't know. So that's forest, heavily forest. And I'm going to send screenshots of all this. And then, it's worth thinking about just the color of sky. It's not something we need to decide on right now, but just to see what that would look like a more golden hour scene. Let me move this down a little bit. Golden hour time of the day. Just looking into the future, right? This could be a golden hour thing. It could be a pink sunset, and that's a little bit hyper pink. Hyper pink right there. That's a nice sunset-y kind of a thing. Oh! Before I do this, I can turn on the lemurs. So then I've got some lemurs here. They wanted a lemur tail coming down. That sounds fun. Lemur walking. I don't know what these lemurs look like. I'm not even totally sure. Their proportions might be off here scale-wise because I'm not totally sure how big a lemur is. Vines. That's a tail coming down. Vines and things like just sculptural elements in the foreground. So this is one direction we can go. And this is looking basically, kind of puts the viewer into the forest while looking out into like the grassy land areas out and towards the forest edge. So that's sort of one direction that we can go in. Let me show you the other direction. The other direction would be more on the grasslands, more lemur tail, lemur walking. So the other option would be to put us more at that corner of the forest edge. So we get rid of some of these trees. We can push back the forest from the middle ground. So this is opening up the space a lot more, giving us a lot more sort of real estate, open real estate to work with. You're not closed in on the forest. Less claustrophobic, right? Let's move that in a little bit. Done. Oops. Done. This would open it up. It would include a lot more sky. This sky here, the sky that's in the background here would probably even be more behind these trees. We would see more of it because I don't think when you push the middle ground back, it would open up them. Obviously, you probably see sky left to right in this kind of arrangement. this is kind of like a nice little middle ground. So that opens up a nice little theater. So what you could also think about doing is to incorporate, if you want to think a little bit more about how this grid would work. Here, let me erase this. You see this little like draws you in, right? Let me just erase a little bit of that. I don't like where that sky is. Hold on, let me move that. Just raise that up a little bit. Okay. So we could, for instance, here's my pen tool. So we have, with that downhill slope that we're doing, that kind of brings us down this way, kind of brings us here, and a fork in the road, I guess. Go either way. And then, this could even be like a depression, like a concave. Here we have convex. Up here we could have a concave. Those are usually nice compositional elements that really connect the foreground to the background. You see what I'm doing here. That space that gets opened up is a whole new theater, right? We can do, because it's more wide open, this could be, I don't know, this could be rocks or something. Let me just imagine this blue is rock. These could be like a rocky kind of area with lemurs sunbathing on the rocks. Maybe little baby lemurs are running around and playing tag or something on these rocks. With a more open composition, we have more opportunities to tell different stories. Maybe there's another animal. Maybe there's another animal in there. I don't know. A whole other scene. Maybe there's some things happening there. Okay, so then let me show you. Oops. Has that pink sky been on this whole time? I'm trying to get that pink sky off. I've been just doing this gray overcast sky because it's neutral. It's non-distracting. It's just a basic neutral color. So for now, because we can even that doesn't need to be decided just yet. Let me show you. We could even push the we could even push this back even more. Not far enough that it's still logical that we have plant models here on the left-hand side, or we have a tree branch or vines or something. It's still very logical. Adding in vines, adding in lemurs. Take this grid off. See how that's opened up a lot more. So let's see what that would look like with some different sky colors. Golden hour, very, oops. Golden hour, let me move this down a little bit. Looks like there's a water in there, but that's not intended to be water. I was going for the sky. And then, oops, where did it go? Sunset pink. These are animals that are known for their nocturnal behavior, so maybe we could think about sunset or a dusk. It's a beautiful dusk color to the sky. Oops, where's that lemur tail? More of a dusk where there's still plenty of light coming in. It's still not dark, but becomes a more dusk scene. Let's see what that would look like. And or just a sky blue, basic sky blue, noon, nice warm day with no cares in the world, just nice blue sky, and that's a lot of sky. Even close it, and this is sort of like a medium ground, but so we still have forest. Sorry, we still have forest encroaching, but opens up to the grassland. There's plenty of middle grounds here. Depends on what we could do. Yeah. Let me see what that would look like with golden hour, which is just a pretty time, you know what I mean? I'm not. Turn off the blue sky. Nice little golden hour scene as well. So so that's kind of where my brain is right now. I got the different compositional elements that we discussed, and we could add more. That's fine. If you want to add more, that's no problem. But how we move this around, and where do you think your brain is going? Do you want it to be more of like that open field, barren ground, um, dirt environment that we find in Southwest Madagascar, or a little bit more into the forest, a little bit more of a forest diorama? And then these are all good things to move from. Like, I love how this tree right here is like dead, but it's covered by that vine. That it's got that history of the environment that I really like. Um, Great texture on this plant down here that would really look good in a painting. And then just like this thick underbrush, like that stuff is just kind of, that thick underbrush is kind of filler. We can use it in any kind of compositional way that we want. This is nice how the bushes in the front, the dark bushes are in the back, opens up that space between them, which is kind of nice. But that is like next to a road, so I don't know if that's artificial, like spacing or not. So then I don't know. I just played around and took a couple images here and went with where'd that one go? I had another one, but I don't see where it is anymore. Okay, well, I don't have the other one right now, but see what I'm saying here? This could look like that, and this is obviously more finished. We know that this painting is not going to be finished, but that's sort of the direction that can be going in. Okay, so my hopes for this meeting are to just see which direction we need to go in with that, with the composition, and give me your thoughts. And from those thoughts, I will take those suggestions and really further develop the image. And yeah, okay, all right. So I think I said enough. So I'm going to stop talking, but let me know where you're at, and you got time after vacation. So, okay, all right.